start. Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Doing great, Keys, man. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Everybody, this is my friend Kevin Banks. He's a mudlogger and he worked for me at Revolution and we kind of got to know each other. So we were just going to have a little fireside together here today.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you called.
Hey, well, thanks for coming on, man. I'm trying to get different people from around the industry on here, and I'm starting out with my buddies, and you've been my favorite mudlogger, so I want to give you a chance to talk about what you're doing now, but I want you to, if you would, just kind of introduce yourself a little bit. Maybe talk a little bit about your career in mudlogging, just an overview, and then we'll take it from there, man.
All right. Well, I started in the oil field in '75 and worked on the rigs, worked for Laughlin Brothers Drilling, and worked for them for 5 years. And actually, late in 1979, I got offered back then it wasn't just mud logging, it was pressure control too. It was kind of like a data star magabar. It was actually technical drilling services at Oklahoma City. So
EDS.
TDS.
Actually ran them as mudloggers at one point. So anyway,
Yeah. And so we did pressure control and hydraulics, pick bits, plotted them in and out of the hole when they made trips. And we had no top codes or any of that back then. We were top code.
okay,
We had lines ran to everything around the rig. We monitored pump pressure, bit weight, strokes, pits, everything.
really,
So yeah,
I didn't know that.
all there was on the rig floor back then was just the jolograph. That was it.
So the
Yeah,
mudlogger did everything else.
yeah, we did everything. I mean,
I didn't know
what
that.
the basically what the company men do now is what we were doing then.
I'll be darned. Okay,
We were telling them what kind of bits to run, what kind of strokes to run, and how to kill wells,
things
and
have changed a little bit.
we used HP 97 calculators with little metal strips with programs in them because we didn't have computers back then.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, we'll
It was,
keep going, buddy. This
it
is
was a
this is
whole
great.
different world back then. So,
Yeah.
but in '79, I started doing that. And so I've been doing it ever since. I thought I was going to retire during COVID.
Well, we
I
had
got
to
called.
keep you busy after that for a little bit at least.
There you go. And one of the things I always liked about working with you, Keith, was your well names. I mean, like the Winterfell, and
Well, that's always a
Wiley, yeah, Wiley Post and the Ghost.
yeah.
You always had some great well names.
Well, I can't really take full credit for that. That's a team effort. But yeah, that is one of the things that I guess people don't really talk about very much is that there is a group of us back at the office that are, naming these wells. Um,
Yeah,
Actually out in Dewey County, my daughter Petra has two namesake wells that I drilled when I was with White Star, couple Cleveland.
awesome.
Yep, couple of Cleveland wells. So I haven't named my other two kids yet, but maybe one day I'll get to. But
There
yeah,
you
no, we
go.
named the wells. It's kind of yeah, that's kind of a funny thing to think about now.
Well, they were kind of prophetic. I mean, we had that major freeze. I don't remember if that was on the Winterfell wells, but it could have been.
I'm pretty sure that it was because they were drilled in the wintertime. And I remember that specifically because after we completed them, they had that big flare going on right there off of the right off the turnpike, like
Yeah.
MacArthur and the turnpike or whatever. So I think it was cold and we had that freeze during that time.
Well, I'll tell you what, you kept me busy. You guys had kept me just about as busy as anybody I ever worked for. We were
Sure.
just going from one well to the next
Yeah,
for
and we were mowing them
several
down pretty
years.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I always enjoyed working for you guys. I mean, you and Miles and Ron and Matt and you
Yeah,
know,
that was a great crew.
it was. And you know what? They worked so hard at getting those rigs lined out. They may have had to switch a rig from time to time, but they always made sure they got everybody lined out just the way they wanted it to be, and it always ran really smooth.
And you know what? Those power rig crews were pretty good too, weren't they? I mean,
They
I've
were.
drilled a lot of wells and through the years I've learned to, be friends with I kind of relate better with the people out there on the rig than I do with the
Yeah.
office sometimes. And that's just kind of my background and how I am, but that it was a really tight crew. We had a lot of fun, and the challenges were really the fun part about it. You've seen some of the craziest stuff in this unit, I bet. We'd have oil coming over or crazy
Oh,
things coming up.
well, you were so good. You were so good though at mapping out the faults. I mean, you could say, "Oh, there's a 20-foot fault coming up here pretty soon." Just micro faults.
Well, I
But
appreciate that.
but it was amazing how you did that. I was like, man, that was spot on.
Thank you for that. I really am. I appreciate that. It means a lot. But you know what it was, man? It was the pre-planning, right? I think that like that geoprog, like the deal that I put out there, I would say is pretty good. And I think that that's what kept us straight most of the time. And then just staying up late, paying attention, and making sure that we were giving people warnings ahead of time. It was always several stands back. I'd send out my kind of morning or evening report with like big picture for the day, right?
Right.
And so we'd just kind of watch the stands tick down. And as we'd get close, you send everybody a warning or, be ready for this. And listen, admittedly, and this too, there were plenty of times that the fault wasn't there. Or, it was kind of a little bit different than we expected. But that pre-planning and knowing, for sure in general what's gonna happen really kind of helped set us up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a great time. We did a lot. We got a lot of wells drilled in that period of time.
We did. And
Yeah.
record distance, record time. I mean, it was just honestly, it was one of the best, times of my life. But, as it relates to you, how did that unit stack up to other places that you've worked? I mean, I'm sure you've seen some pretty cool stuff, but, like how would Wailu stack up against, your what, 30, 40 year career, I guess. Almost
Uh,
50,
The
50
only
year
thing
career
I
at
could
this point. 50 years, dude.
The next one I could say would be Apache Corporation out in Wheeler County, Texas. That we
Okay.
were working on the Stiles Ranch, and that was when we first started doing horizontals out there in 2015. Oh my Lord, I don't know. Nelson Moore was the geologist I was working for at that time, and he brought a crew of graduate students that they were thinking about hiring out to the location one time. I had like 25 of them, and I was showing them what a mudlogger does.
Right. Right.
And he looked at me, he goes, Kevin, do you realize you've drilled almost 800 wells out here with us? You know, and that was before we started doing the horizontals. That was our first horizontal well. And I know I did at least, I don't know, at least 200 wells
Holy
after
moly.
that.
What were they, Morrow?
No, they were granite wash,
Okay.
upper and lower granite wash wells. But
Okay.
it was a lot easier than the hunting because they were very thick zones, and it was
Okay.
hard to get out of zone,
Okay. Okay. That's
But the
nice.
hunting, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's not, I wouldn't say the hunting in and of itself. It would be the hunting specific to this area,
Right.
because, I mean, listen, if the hunting were like it is at Wailu everywhere, it would never run out of oil. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
You know
you
what?
know,
After
we
I
have,
left working with you guys, I did get to go to work for Formentera for a while and
okay.
did a bunch with them. So I did get to see, upper and lower Bodart,
Okay.
Harrigan, and then down into the Chimney Hills too. So that was some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, down there it's a little churtier at the base where you picking up chert in your samples, a little bit
Yeah.
tighter. Sometimes there's
What?
like a little basal oolite zone, but you don't
Yeah.
want to get too close because of the Sylvan. That'll stick you. I mean, we had
Right.
a little trouble with that at one point.
Yeah. The green shell.
Yep. Nope. No bueno.
Yeah. No go there. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. So
but
what are you working on now, man? In the field at least. And then I'd like to talk about this business that you and your wife are doing too.
okay. Well, right now I'm working for Freedom Operating. We're working in Lincoln County, and we're doing Oswego and Prue
Okay.
wells.
Okay.
And
Vertical.
no, they're horizontals and doing, you know, 2 3 hole pads. And
Great.
they're very good company to work for. They're really, really knowledgeable of what they're doing,
Great.
and and I'm getting ready to go to work doing some more hunting wells.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah. now, right now, the way I started doing it about after I left you guys, after you guys sold, and I started working with Ron and Matt, and I just do it on my own. I work for myself. I have my own
Good.
consulting company, and
Okay.
but I work through Trace Management,
Yeah.
and I work
Yeah, I'm
through
going to be
them.
having to do the same thing too. I'll be using one of the consulting firms to do my consulting work through. So,
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm at. It's a good thing. You'll like that.
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I need to get, I have some potential jobs lined up, but got to get busy, man.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to pick up. I don't think you're going to have a hard time finding.
I know, I don't think so. And with the time I've got on my hands right now, I mean, this has honestly been a pretty good use of my time. I've got, listen, getting to visit with people like you and, calling up a bunch of my friends and stuff has been good. I've been married and, just we sell the companies, all this stuff. And so, I'm kind of in a new chapter of my life. And so, it's been cool. I've been reconnecting and kind of getting myself back out there because I think, listen, it's really hard kind of being in my position. I think we did some pretty good things at Wailu, and I think I know what I'm doing in this business.
Yeah.
And, but it's still kind of hard to, just jump back into like LinkedIn resumes and recruiters and all this kind of stuff. And, the truth is like, I know what I'm doing and I'd really like to get some decent consulting gigs. So we'll just kind of see what happens, but I definitely want to get, drilling again soon for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. Keep me in mind if you do.
But are you kidding me? I won't call anybody else. I'll let you use my trailer.
Yeah, usually I've got them to where they get me a trailer. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the mud engineers use. They have the sink and everything in there, and I have my own workstation, so
Yeah.
I set everything up there. But I work 24/7. I go home when they're setting pipe, when they're making a trip if I
Yep.
can.
That is something that like I'm glad you brought up because I'm pretty OG about this, and so are you. The one man towers, dude. There's a few and far between. Most places aren't going to send you one man anymore. You've got to do the different stuff, and so I kind of
Right.
like, I'll call you up. You know what and you know what happens though? It's really a lifestyle. You've been doing it, like we say, for 50 years. Like at Whaley, we get into the groove of it. You know when you're going to have the time off. You know when you're going to be able to sleep. You get
Right.
to know it. Hey, it's going slow right now. And
You've got it
so
down to the hour. I mean, Matt and those guys. Well, we set our curve, when we got ready to build our curve, it was 36 hours and we were there and we were
hmm
ready to go.
hmm
So but we actually had it down to an hourly thing. That's
I
how
know.
smooth it was.
No, the
Yeah.
best crew I've ever worked with. Like I'd love to do it again, man. Like that was the best. Like the communication style, just all of it. It worked perfectly.
Yeah. I
Had good
really
hands.
did.
We had people like you. Honestly, my geosteerers were really pretty good too.
Yeah.
We had some really good guys that to keep
Yeah.
us straight.
I think, didn't you have Dylan working with you then?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was Dylan and Dustin Stewart, and I'd always get them
Right.
crossed up,
Right.
dude,
Yeah. The
especially
brother.
at 3 in the morning. So though, but both of them are so good. We knew we could trust them, and it was just yeah, we had good hands out there. The rig hands were good. Our directional companies were good. The tools from the vendors were good. Till they got beat up.
Right. Remember
You know,
Dylan called me a few times at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning
yep, yep,
because he
yep.
knew I was there.
And he
So,
did, and I was always nice to people when I got woke up. At least I think. Was I nice to wake up?
oh yeah. Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Have you had some pretty grumpy ones in your day?
No, not really. I mean, most of them, they appreciate it. They like the heads up. If there's
Yeah,
something
for
going
sure,
on, they wouldn't know about it.
for
So
sure. Anyway, that's always funny, but yeah, they're great geosteers. It was just such a good time, man. I would do it again in
yeah.
a heartbeat, and I wouldn't do
Oh
it any
man.
different either, dude.
No. No, it was great.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Sounds like everything's really working out for you. And so talk about this. You're always talking about this thing that you and your wife are doing. Why don't you get into that a little bit before we go here?
Well, when things got a little bit slower, my wife's she was a RN. She worked for Mercy for 20 years, recovering heart patients in ICU. And she decided that she got tired of seeing everybody just getting a pill to take care of a symptom. And she started studying some articles about natural health. She actually had a problem with one of her knees, and they told her she had to have it a knee replacement
Replacement.
surgery.
Yeah.
And she said, No, I don't think so."
Okay.
So she started researching and she found some natural ways of taking care of your knee. And one of them was drinking distilled water, and it breaks up the calcium in the joints that
Really?
cause knee problems. So instead of going in and getting a cortisone shot every 6 months, she started drinking distilled water, and it took
Huh.
care of it. I mean, never swelled up again, no more shots. So
And no
she,
other like other side, like nothing else. I'm starting to think about it. Anyway, that is interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but she went to school for about 5 years at an online School of Natural Health, and she's actually now it's Trinity School of Natural Health. They're out of Warsaw, Indiana, and it's an online school. And she went to school there for 5 years and graduated, and she started her own practice. She's a traditional naturopath, certified traditional naturopath,
Okay.
and
And so what does that
so
mean? Like, so what kind of what do we call treatments, therapies, or do you guys do? So you've got stuff
well,
like drinking distilled water. What are some other
right.
things?
Well, it's more of a foundational life change, a lifestyle change that's non-invasive. Do any type of surgeries. They can't do pharmaceuticals or anything like that. They treat everything naturally, like through homeopathy
Hmm.
and different other areas of supplementation. For natural through herbs, herbology.
Okay. And do you mix like exercise and stuff like that with it as well? So,
Yeah, there's
okay.
like 9 foundational changes, that you need to work on in your life: hydration, air, nutrition, exercise, spirituality, just basic things in life that people get so wound up that they forget about.
Yeah.
They get in such a rush.
Hydration alone, and I'm
Yeah.
all busy. I'm not drinking any water.
Yeah, we need to drink at least half our body weight in ounces every day.
Okay.
That's that's proper hydration. And that's hard to do. I mean, I'm 180 pounds. That's 90 ounces of water a day.
Hmm.
But I have a 32-ounce Bubba that I carry around with me. I drink 3 of them, and I've got enough.
And you've got
uh, I'm hydrated. Yeah, and it's so important to do that because that's what flushes the toxins out of your system.
and
And
and I'm obviously not an oncologist, but thinking about being able to flush the toxins and keep everything moving, that's interesting to me for sure.
yeah, but
Oh, cool.
the difference between allopathic medicine, modern medicine, and natural medicine is the fact that, doctors usually take one disease or, disease is what we call it, and they apply it the same principle for each person, and on the natural level, they treat every individual differently. So they talk to the people, they listen to how they're feeling, and then they make adjustments in their lifestyle that they think will best fit them.
That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah, it's
And you feel
awesome.
good, and your wife feels good. You
Yeah.
both. I just saw her when you all were getting started. You guys look amazing. You really do. You really do.
She just turned 60 this year, and I'll be 69 in August. It goes by in a hurry, but you know what? We're feeling good, and we're just enjoying life.
That's
Got
awesome, man.
5 kids and 11 grandkids.
You're busy
Yeah.
and you're
But
working and everything else. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
I was,
You never stop working.
no, never. And geologists like myself, I've been talking to some of my old mentors and bosses and stuff like that. That's one cool thing about being a geologist is that like you only get better as long as you can still write or type on a computer or use a mouse. The depth of knowledge, the mistakes, the wins, the all of it.
Right.
Just that's it's created a novel of information that you can draw on. And so to see these older geologists and get some of their stories and knowledge from them has been a big blessing.
I had an opportunity to work with so many of those guys because they're like they work like what you're wanting to do right now. They would come out on location, however many wells they had drilling for that company. They had a field geologist that came out, made sure that back then we were running electric logs all the time, on the vertical hose. And they'd come out and they'd make sure the logs were ran properly. They'd check our mud logs, check samples, make sure everything was going the way they were supposed to do. And, so I got to meet a lot of older geologists back then,
Yep.
that really, really taught me a lot.
Yep. And
Yeah.
they honestly saw some bigger boomer kind of stuff than a lot of us have. Those guys that were in their 70s when you just got started means that they were doing it in the 40s.
Right.
That's like the time that Wailu was discovered. You're still having blowouts back then. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say hi to Micah the next time I see him. You've
All right.
got a great family, buddy. And
Yeah.
have anything you want to leave with us before we go?
Drill, baby, drill.
I'm with you on that, buddy. I like that for sure. All right. Well, to everybody else, make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. If you would like to get in touch with me, feel free to reach out to my website, thegrizzledgeologist.com. And to all you mudloggers out there, stay muddy. Talk to you.
Work for it. Don't be crazy. And work for your money.